In this video, we're going to take a look at 7 of the most dramatic moments that have ever been caught on camera in a courtroom setting. From sentencing reactions to people flipping out, these are definitely moments you don't want to miss. Let's get started. This is Jacob Morgan, a 17-year-old teenager from Rock Hill, South Carolina. Morgan appeared in court for a probable cause hearing. He was accused of arson and the murder that claimed the life of his 14-year-old half-brother, Joshua Hill, while babysitting him. During the hearing, prosecutors argued that Jacob had deliberately and with malicious intent lit numerous candles prior to the fire, which provided evidence that he had started the deadly blaze. Watch as Judge Dan Malphrus gives the verdict to Jacob that there's probable cause.
So therefore, I am going to find that there is probable cause and charge the individual with the found over for general session.
In court, Jacob pleaded guilty to starting the fire and expressed his sorrow and regret for not being able to save his brother from the fire. He shared that despite the tragedy, he still loved his brother deeply.
I love my brother. I still do to this very day. He's my best friend. To kill him would be killing a piece of myself.
Next, we have Daniel Villegas. At the age of 16, Daniel Villegas confessed to the murder of 2 teenagers, 18-year-old Robert England and 17-year-old Armando Lazo. The confession emerged after hours of brutal and threatening police interrogation. During 5 hours of non-stop questioning, the police made threats of physical violence and sexual assault, as well as invoking the death penalty in an effort to coerce a confession out of him. Villegas was taken into custody after confessing, only to quickly recant the statement from the interrogation. In December 1994, the first trial of Villegas began, with his family and friends recanting the prior statements they had made against him, and a forensic psychiatrist testifying that he was a young man with emotional issues and possibly mild mental retardation. The trial resulted in a hung jury. After nearly a year of waiting, Villegas was found guilty in a second trial and sentenced to life in prison. On October 5, 2018, after years of legal battles, Villegas finally returned to court for the 3rd time since he was initially charged with murder. Now 41 years old, it seemed that his fate would be decided once and for all.
The jury find the defendant Daniel Villegas not guilty.
Moving on to Judge John C. Murphy, a former county judge of the Brevard County Court in Florida. Being a judge is no easy job. It requires not only a great deal of education, but also an immense amount of discipline and restraint. Not only must a judge remain impartial and unbiased in their decisions, but they must also be capable of setting aside their personal opinions and feelings when it comes to cases. But not this time. In 2015, a dramatic incident between Judge Murphy and public defender Alan Weinstock went viral when a video surfaced of the 2 men involved in an altercation. The dispute arose due to Weinstock's insistence on exercising his client's right to a speedy trial, which Judge Murphy argued against. Murphy erupted into an outraged tirade.
This is an emergency
if I
created by
had a
the
rock,
state.
I would throw it at you right now.
Stop
pissing me off. Just sit down. I'll take care of it. I don't need your help.
No,
sit down.
But Weinstock refused to back down.
I'm the public defender. I have a right to be here, and I have a right to stand
I
and
said
represent.
sit down.
What follows next is an altercation between the 2 men. Weinstock and Murphy step out of the courtroom, much to everyone's amusement, and start fighting.
If you want to fight, let's go out back and I'll just beat your ass.
The brawl that ensued in the background was so intense that it reportedly took a deputy to separate them. Even though Weinstock was no longer present, Murphy continued to pass judgment on the public defender's clients. During a disciplinary hearing, it was established that Murphy's actions were inexcusable, and subsequently, he was removed from his position. This is Damon Kemp. On the night of November 9, 2019, Damon Kemp, who was 19 at the time, was arrested in Daytona Beach, Florida, and charged with 2 counts of second-degree murder. The victims were his roommates, Trey Ingram and Jordan Payton, both of whom had allowed him to stay with them at their apartment out of compassion. At his first court appearance, Kemp was wheeled out in front of the judge, displaying erratic and disruptive behavior as he continually kept shouting,
God! God! God!
During the hearing, Kemp's eyes could be seen darting around as he made odd facial expressions before ultimately being denied bond. The victim's family members were present in the courtroom and reacted with horror to the scene, angrily shouting at Kemp.
Dede, why would you do that to Trey? Dede, I fed you. Trey fed you. He let you live in his house rent free. Why would you do that to Trey, Dede?
I'm gonna have to ask you
Dede,
to
you
leave.
mom. Dede, you
I'm gonna have to ask you to leave, man.
Dede.
Kemp was denied bond and faces 2 counts of second-degree murder. He remains at Volusia County Jail. Now, we move on to Franklyn Williams, a 32-year-old resident of Cleveland, Ohio. In the Cuyahoga County Court of Common Pleas, he was found guilty on 3 separate charges: aggravated robbery, robbery, and kidnapping. The case of Franklyn Williams gained national attention when a sheriff's deputy, at the direction of Judge John Russo, taped his mouth shut while he was delivering his statement during sentencing.
I'm gonna tape it, and then I'll unzip it when I want you to talk.
The video sparked outrage among much of the public, who accused Judge Russo of violating Williams's rights.
Mr. Williams, I want to make it real clear. If you spit on, attempt to bite, or injure any of my deputies, you're going to have a bad day.
And humiliating him, Judge Russo sentenced Williams to 24 years in prison. He faced a maximum of 134 years in consecutive sentences, according to the judge in a statement. Judge Russo offered an apology and stepped down from presiding over the case. This occurred after a video of his disparaging remarks went viral on social media. The Ohio Supreme Court has made the decision to appoint a new judge in order to sentence Franklyn Williams. This is Michael Madison, a notorious serial killer and sex offender from East Cleveland, Ohio. As a child, he had an abusive mom, and her boyfriends also abused him. On July 19, 2013, law enforcement officials were called to investigate a garage that was leased to Madison due to reports of an unpleasant smell. Upon entering the garage, they discovered a corpse in the advanced stages of decomposition. The following day, 2 additional bodies were uncovered in the same area, adding to the gruesome discovery. All 3 of his victims were women, bearing evidence of extreme physical and sexual abuse. On April 4, 2016, Madison's trial began. During the sentencing of Madison, his disrespectful smirk provoked an outburst from Van Terry, father of one of the victims, Sherelda Terry. In a fit of rage and grief, he charged towards Madison before being restrained by court security, and he was led away without facing any further consequences. On May 20, 2016, the jury in Madison's trial reached a unanimous verdict of guilty on all counts and recommended that he be sentenced to death. Next, we have Kodey Howard and Tanner Jacobson. They were each sentenced to 30 days in jail for driving on suspended licenses in 2018. What made the situation remarkable, however, was that the pair attempted an audacious escape from the Washington State courtroom of Judge R.W. Buzzard. This while they were still handcuffed and wearing oversized orange shower sandals.
We were sitting there on the benches together, and he's like, I'm gonna run.
I said, what am I doing? What did I just do?
The security camera footage from the courthouse shows 4 inmates walking out of the court, escorted by an unseen deputy. Howard and Jacobson, the last 2 to leave, suddenly deviated from the expected path and sprinted towards a door at the back of the courtroom. The security footage from the Washington courthouse went viral on social media and featured Judge R.W. Buzzard giving chase to the 2 inmates who were attempting to flee the building.
It was just a reaction. I mean, it was just my immediate thought was, gotta get these guys.
While everyone takes a moment to process what's exactly happening, footage shows the judge discarding his robe in pursuit of the escapees. Jacobson and Howard were seen heading down the stairwell, with Buzzard hastily trailing behind them. Before Howard could make his escape through the open emergency exit door, he was apprehended by Buzzard, who seized him firmly in his grasp. But Jacobson managed to get outside. He was later apprehended by some deputies a few blocks away from the courthouse. Jacobson and Howard were both charged with second-degree escape. And that's it for today. We truly hope you enjoyed our video. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up and share your thoughts with us in the comments. Be sure to hit subscribe if you don't want to miss any courthouse updates from this channel. We'll see you soon for an all-new case, so stay tuned until then.